Hello guys, my name is Sina and being a software veteran, I like to help millions of developers understand software concepts. Welcome to the channel Unabstracted, and here we keep unabstracting. Today we are going to see a video on SSH on the EC2 instance. We will also see the connection timeout that happens while doing an SSH. In the later stage, we will see the different ways to fix an EC2 connection timeout. Guys, if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. So let's start the video. So SSH on EC2 instance, so we have different problems or ways to fix the connection timeout here. We don't know why exactly this problem happens, but we are going to see today the fixes on the while doing SSH. So this is the SSH command that we have to run. This runs on port 22 by default. We have the SSH -i stands for identity file. So our identity file is nothing but our private key pair value that we download from the AWS console, and then we pass in the username and the host name. So let's launch an EC2 instance here very quickly. So here I will name the EC2 instance as public instance. I will choose the image to be Ubuntu, the AMI, and I will select the instance type to be the bare minimum one, which is the T2 nano. So guys, here we need to either create new key pair, or if you have an existing one, you can use that. So I have created already a Bastion key pair of RSA type. So let's select the existing key pair and then go to edit on the network settings. So here we have already created a VPC, custom VPC, and we will select a public subnet over here in the availability zone 1, which is this one. We will also enable this auto assign public IP because it will assign a public IP address to our EC2 machine through which we can connect via SSH. I've already created an security group, so I'll select an existing security group, which is this. So this security group actually allows you to connect to this EC2 instance from anywhere in the internet on port 22. So we will have a look into this security group in some time. We will choose 8 GB GP3 volume. Let's launch the instance. Let's go back to the EC2 console, and we will wait until the instance is healthy. So you can see guys, the instance is running and the status check is initializing. So let's wait until the status check is passed. Okay guys, let's now proceed to check why exactly this connection timeout occurs. So there are different checks we can do in order to fix this connection timeout. So first of all, we will see the security groups. Okay, so we have to see the security group that is attached to the AWS instance has allowed the TCP port 22 for all the IP addresses, or at least for your IP address. So we have to create an inbound rule. So next we will check the routing table. So which the routing table that is attached in the VPC. So we have to check whether that points to the entire internet. Okay, so that should actually point to the our internet gateway target. So by this we will know that the our traffic is actually incoming from or over the internet. So that means when we try to send a request to this EC2 machine, so it is allowed from all the IP addresses available. Next we are going to check the username. Okay, so this username is crucial because it changes for different AMIs or the operating system. So it can either be EC2 user for Linux, it could be root, or Ubuntu for Ubuntu OS. We have to also check the private key and the permissions with which it is created. We have to download the private key from AWS key pair section and change the permissions to 400, and we are going to see that very shortly. Our last check is the Ubuntu firewall. So if we have selected an AMI, Ubuntu AMI, in that case it could happen that the firewall, or you first logged in SSH into the EC2 machine, by mistake the firewall would have been enabled and it doesn't allow port 22. So in that case what we have to do is we have to disable the Ubuntu firewall, okay, or enable port 22 for accepting the connections. So we will see that very soon. Okay guys, our EC2 machine is now ready and it has passed the checks. Here we can see the public IPv4 address and the public IPv4 DNS. So first what we will do is we will try to connect to this public IP4 DNS. So let's do an SSH on this machine. On the first instance, when I do an SSH, so the SSH command is SSH -i, and then we need to use our Bastion key pair. Our AMI is Ubuntu, so we're gonna choose Ubuntu as the username and pass in the DNS name. So let's press enter. By the way guys, before hitting this enter, what we have to also check is the permissions of the key pair or our private file. We need to check the permissions of the private file. So we need to check the permissions of our private key. So for that, let's do an ls era Bastion. You can see that it's only read access, so that means it is fine. If it is any other thing, then you can just type change mode to 400 and pass in the file name. So this will change your permissions. Now let's copy this command and hit enter. So it says that this wants to verify the connection. So do you want to agree? So I say yes. So it has added the host name in our known hosts. Okay, now you can see that the private IP. Now you can see that the private IP of the machine here it is shown, which is same as in our AWS console. So next what we are going to do, next what we are going to do is we are going to see all the checks, okay, one by one. So first let's go to the security groups. So you can see here guys that the port 22 has a protocol TCP, and it is the source of 0.0.0/0, which means that it allows all the IPv4 addresses. So that means we are good on this side. Now let's go on our subnet to check whether our subnet allows all the traffic from the internet gateway. So here you can see we have selected the public one, okay, and we go to the route table, and you can see that we also have, I mean, the route 00, the route 0.0.0.0/0 is connected to our internet gateway, okay. And then the third check is the username. So username we have already seen that it is Ubuntu, so we are good on that. And lastly we will check whether the Ubuntu firewall is enabled or not. So here what we will do is we'll check. We will do Ubuntu firewall status. Okay, we will add sudo to this command. So it says it is inactive. Now thing guys that we will enable this sudo ufw enable. So we have enabled this, and now when we do a status on ufw, you can see it is active now. And here we will we are next we are going to allow port 80 and 443, but not port 22. So it says rule added. So we will check the status again. You can see that the TCP port 80 has been added from anywhere which is IPv4 and IPv6 also. Similarly, what we are going to do, we are going to allow HTTPS. So So you can see guys, we have allowed port 80 and port 43 for both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. And you can see that for port 22 we haven't allowed. So now think someone has mistakenly by mistake not allowed port 22 and exited. We have exit from this our EC2 machine. Now someone again tries to log in into do an SSH into the EC2 instance using the same private key. Okay, now let's try again. Now you can see guys that we are not able to log in to the EC2 machine. And in order to solve this, what we have to do is we need to now since we are not able to log in itself into the EC2 machine, we don't have any other option except to go to the AWS console and make changes in the user script. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we have to do there. So first let's wait. The error will soon appear, the connection timeout. Okay guys, you can see here that the connect to host connection timeout. So now let's go back to our EC2 console and go to the actions and so go to instance settings, and here you have the option to edit user data. We'll click on that and you can see that there is no user data present here. So next is we are going to, so in order to modify the user data, first we have to stop the instance. Okay, so let's go ahead. So now you can see that this instance is stopped. Let's go to action, instance settings, edit user data. So here you can see that we have the user data to be placed here. So let's go ahead, paste this piece of code. So here what we are doing is guys, we are telling the content type MIME-Version, then encoding type, and we are also passing in the file name, and finally this is the main command that it executes. So here it will disable the Ubuntu firewall and it will load the IP tables. Okay, and it will flush it. Okay, Now let's save it and start the instance. Once the instance state is running, we will try to connect to the EC2 machine again. So guys, you see, so guys, there is a different problem here. So when we have stopped the instance and restarted it, so you can see that we have a new public IPv4 DNS generated. Okay, so this is another issue which people will not be able to recognize. So let's change our DNS hostname and try to connect back. And you can see that this is a success. We are able to log in to our EC2 machine once again. Now you can do whatever the configurations you need on this machine. So guys, share your experience also if you have been facing this kind of issue, and do comment. If you find the video helpful, please share, subscribe and like, as your action keeps me motivated to bring such contents to the wider audience.